This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Wendy Griffith. Hurricane Sally is bringing catastrophic flooding to parts of the Florida and Alabama Gulf, taking her time moving through the south after coming ashore. CBN's George Thomas shows us what's happening with this latest storm from this very active hurricane season.
Here's the latest in downtown Pensacola.
The Weather Channel's Chris Bruin posting this on Twitter from the corner of Jefferson and Main Street.
This is the view from the third floor of my hotel room. Look at the streets. I mean, it is just terrifying.
Hours earlier, Hurricane Sally making landfall as a Category 2 storm just west of here near Gulf Shores, Alabama. This ABC reporter caught in the thick of things as the eye wall came ashore.
This is what Main Street looked like. Wind absolutely nuking through here, a storm surge with white caps, debris littering the streets here.
Storm surge turning streets in downtown Pensacola into rivers as floodwaters inundate surrounding homes and businesses. Hurricane Sally also knocking out a section of Florida's new 3-mile bridge. At one point, Sally's winds gusting to 105 miles per hour, causing the semi to flip along a bridge in Alabama. With the slow-moving storm expected to crawl along the Gulf Coast and further inland, the National Hurricane Center warning of historic and catastrophic flooding. Some areas could see up to 35 inches of rain.
And then as we see Sally track further to the northeast, Birmingham, Montgomery could see 4 to 8 inches. Augusta and Charlotte, as well as Chattanooga, could see 2 to 4 inches of rain. More
than 500,000 people already without power across Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida.
This is crazy.
Forecasters predicting more people will be affected in the days to come as Sally continues its slow trek southeast. George Thomas, CBN News.
Thanks, George. AccuWeather meteorologist Justin Povic has more on what to expect as Hurricane Sally moves inland.
Well, Sally has put down some very, very high amounts of rain. Take a look at what we've seen so far around Pensacola. More than 2 feet of precipitation here, of rain, as well as the high gusting winds. Notice Gulf Shores, Alabama gusted to 123, Fort Morgan 121, and Pensacola gusting to 92 miles per hour. And again, made landfall again at Gulf Shores, Alabama, 4:45 this morning Central Time. The last landfalling hurricane in Alabama was Hurricane Ivan. And look at this, in Gulf Shores back the same day in 2004. All right, well, Sally is beginning to lose again some of the highest of the winds, but still a very dangerous system, especially here when it comes to the amount of rain that it will be putting down. It's still moving fairly slowly again by tonight, making its move through southern portions of Alabama, and then we're going into Georgia here by the time we venture our way into Thursday, en route to the eastern Carolinas Friday in toward the upcoming weekend. On the AccuWeather real impact scale for hurricanes, this will be a 2 again for the flooding rainfall, and of course the storm surge we've been talking about as well. Still, over the next several hours, could see some high gusting winds, Pensacola on northbound. But again, the flooding rain, the biggest concern. Grand total here, AccuWeather local storm max 30 inches of rain, but notice how the heavy rain will lift its way north and east. 4 to 8 inches from the upstate of South Carolina into North Carolina.
Thanks so much. Well, meanwhile, CBN's Operation Blessing disaster relief team is prepping to respond to the critical needs of Gulf Coast residents. Volunteer crews are already working nearby in Lake Charles, Louisiana, in the wake of last month's devastating Hurricane Laura. Well, joining us now with more on the relief efforts is Operation Blessing Scott Phillips. Scott, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we have a little time delay there. How are things going there in Lake Charles, and what has been the greatest need so far?
It's been going very well here. We've tarped roofs that have gotten ripped off, as you can see behind me. We've helped the homeowners clear debris and trees from their yards and sorted along the road for FEMA to pick up. Our greatest need right now is volunteers. We really need the people to come out and help out the homeowners to recover and take the steps towards recovery from this hurricane.
Scott, once Hurricane Sally clears out of there, what is the first thing that Operation Blessing teams will do when they arrive in places like Gulf Shores? How do you prepare ahead of time?
We have people on the ground in Virginia Beach making calls to our partner churches, reaching out to the churches in the areas that are being affected, and reaching pastors and other organizations in those areas. We have one of our deployment managers standing by in Bristol, Tennessee, to run supplies down and assess the damage in whatever area we deem from these calls as necessary.
Now, you've been in Lake Charles for a couple of weeks now. How long do volunteer teams stay in these affected areas following hurricanes, and what are you anticipating following Hurricane Sally?
The volunteers come in, a lot of them come in groups, and they'll stay a couple days, a week maybe, or they'll just come on the weekends. We've had a few just come for a single day. Bigger groups will come and stay 2-3 weeks. What we're looking at for Sally is doing a lot of relief work for non-perishables, water, cleaning kits, supplies along those lines. We're also standing by to assess if we need to help do muck and guts of homes and dry out homes and do any repair work for like tarping roofs or debris cleanup.
All right, Scott Phillips with Operation Blessing. You've got your work cut out for you. Our prayers are with you and your team. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your busy schedule to talk with us.
No problem.
And if you'd like to give to Operation Blessing, you can donate to the Disaster Relief Fund. The number is on your screen. Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. They will surely appreciate anything you can do. And of course, as Scott mentioned, volunteers are also needed. Well, now to those devastating wildfires out west. Portland, Oregon now has the worst air quality in the world, and Seattle, Washington is third in line. Dramatic new video recorded on a firefighter's helmet shows just how fast the Creek Fire overwhelmed crews in California. And get this, a doorbell camera captures flames raging through the Sequoia National Forest that were closing in on a home. Wow, look at that. Health officials say the fires are making it increasingly difficult to breathe for residents there. Health officials say at least 1 in 10 visits to the ER are related to air quality. Well, a Miami church community is mourning the loss of a beloved pastor who was shot and killed last week. Miami police say Gregory Boyd was caught in the crossfire between two groups of men outside a local flea market. Boyd was the pastor of New Birth Harvest Outreach Ministries Churches of Deliverance. His daughter wrote in a Facebook post that his death is a nightmare. She wrote, quote, "To the young people that shot multiple times at each other with no regard for life, I pray that you will see that you have not only taken a great man of God, but you took away my father, my hero, a great husband to my mom, and an even better friend and family member to countless others. He's well known by many, and justice will be served." So sad. Well, reaction today to historic step toward peace in the Middle East. The United Arab Emirates and Bahrain signed the deals yesterday with the Jewish state on the White House South Lawn. Israelis welcomed the new deals while Palestinians fired rockets as the ceremony unfolded. CBN News Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl brings us the story from Jerusalem.
The flags of the U.S., Israel, UAE, and Bahrain were projected on Jerusalem's old city walls as leaders in Washington signed the deals. At a reception for diplomats, Israeli President Reuven Rivlin thanked the Gulf state leaders for their courage and invited them to Jerusalem.
I hope that many more Arab and Muslim countries follow your lead, and that we see a new era of peace among nations. P to P, people to people, peace to peace. I hope as well that this spirit of cooperation will help us to build a future of trust with our Palestinian neighbors.
But that doesn't look promising. During the speech of the UAE's foreign minister, rockets fired from Gaza rained down on the southern Israeli cities of Ashkelon and Ashdod. One rocket fell in the commercial center of Ashdod, wounding 3 Israelis. Overnight, terrorists launched another 13 rockets at Israel. 8 were intercepted by Iron Dome. In response, IDF jets hit Hamas military targets in Gaza. Hamas said the peace deal was working against national Arab security and fueling disagreements in the region. Meanwhile, Israelis at Jerusalem's open-air market told CBN News they were both cautious and excited about the deals.
It's very good that Arabs and Jewish, everybody, Muslims, Jewish, everybody connected and try to make this world a better place.
As long as they don't demand from us to stop building the settlements, that they will pressure the Prime Minister to make all kinds of concessions with the settlements. And then it would be, in my opinion, a worthless agreement.
It's in good time right now. The economics of Israel is really in low. They can help us a lot.
Many said they wanted to visit the Gulf states and looked forward to good things ahead.
Abu Dhabi is going to be the first stop.
Me Dubai.
Is Dubai, I'm Abu Dhabi.
In the first flight.
Israelis will be able to fly to Dubai without having to use a second passport. But more importantly, I think the general sense that peace is inevitable in the region and that everyone who is interested in advancing their countries and their societies need to get on the peace train.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Bit of good news. Thanks, Julie. Well, coming up, what new controversial bill out of California is drawing widespread criticism from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. But before we go to the break, here's a look at what's trending on CBNNews.com.
Sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a bill that makes changes to a controversial law. The state law leaves it up to a judge's discretion on whether or not to add individuals to the state's sex offender registry who have committed sodomy with minors. The bill was passed by the Democratic-controlled state legislature on Friday. Jonathan Keller with the California Family Council joins us with more on the legislation and reaction to it. Jonathan, tell us more about this bill so we have a better understanding of it.
Thanks for having me with you today. Yes, this is related to SB 145, that's Senate Bill 145. It was authored by State Senator Scott Wiener from the San Francisco area. He is also the chair of California's LGBT caucus. This bill was actually introduced in 2019, and it passed through the Assembly and the Senate fairly quickly, but then it hit a roadblock in the Assembly Appropriations Committee. In fact, the chairwoman of that committee, Lorena Gonzalez, a strong Democrat but also Catholic and a mother, raised significant concerns about the dangers of lowering any protections on prohibitions between adults and minors. As a result, she was able to actually stop this bill for 13 months. It arrived in her committee July 2019. It was finally forced out of the committee over her strenuous objections in August. And Governor Newsom, as you noted, just actually signed it into law last Friday, September 11th. Essentially, what this bill does is it actually lowers the mandatory requirements that an individual within 10 years of a minor who engages in sexual activity with someone is automatically placed on the state's sex offender registry. Now, already there were, some would call it a loophole, that allowed for judges to have the discretion if it was heterosexual encounters. In this case, as you mentioned, sodomy, oral sex, other types of activities are now subject to that same deference. To put it in plain terms, this means that a 24-year-old who seduces and engages in this type of sexual activity with a 14-year-old would no longer be required to immediately go on the sex offender registry.
I mean, why? Why would they want to do this? I mean, there's Democrats and Republicans speaking out against this. You know, I'm trying to find some sort of why behind, why would any legislator want to do this?
Well, unfortunately, I think all of us in our lives have people who are members of the LGBT community that we're friends with. I think many of them would actually raise significant concerns about this bill as well. But unfortunately, I think in the state of California, the LGBT caucus is even out of step with most of the LGBT community. The way this bill was sold at every step along the way was equality. It was removing discrimination from LGBT young people, when in reality, I'm sorry, I don't care whether it is heterosexual, homosexual, binary, bisexual. I don't think that any 24-year-old should ever be having sexual interaction with a 14-year-old. That's just wrong.
Or a 15-year-old.
And it's not just me that says that.
You know,
well, you're right.
Anyway,
It's not just me that says that either. Again, Lorena Gonzalez, the chair of the Appropriations Committee, a strong Democrat, a pro-union, pro-LGBT Democrat. To quote her in her floor statement, she said, "Any sex is sex. I don't care who it is between or what the sex act is. Give me a situation where a 24-year-old had sex with a 14-year-old, any kind of sex, and it wasn't predatory. I have yet to see it."
Wow. Wow. Great quote. Well, what is your group and other pro-family groups doing to fight for children in this case?
Well, our website, californiafamily.org, has a lot of resources and information about this bill. We were strongly urging the governor to veto it. Frankly, we were a little shocked and disappointed, even in the state of California, that Governor Newsom was so quick to sign this bill, especially because it passed literally by one single vote in the Assembly. The bare minimum, 41 votes out of 80 votes. Even a large number of Democrats refused to put their name behind this legislation. So this is probably going to be a good opportunity for Californians to educate themselves on who voted for this bill, so that when they go to the polls in November, they can stand with people who actually support their values instead of those of the radical LGBT caucus here in California.
Absolutely. Jonathan Keller, thanks for breaking down a difficult subject for us today. We appreciate it. And thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Well, don't go anywhere. We will be back after the break.
Yeah, I got that.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
On the Home Front, Tuesday morning at 10:30.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
Welcome back. The coronavirus continues to impact American lives in more ways than we could ever have imagined. Now we learned it's a driving factor behind a 93% increase in the number of children sexually solicited online. As Lori Johnson reports, since the country's virtual lockdown, kids are spending much more time online, and parents need to be on the lookout for predators.
Online child sex predators have been more active than ever during the COVID-19 pandemic. Pretending to be kids themselves, they ask their victims for nude pictures and even arrange to meet them for sex or try to force them into slavery.
Just last month, authorities arrested 34 men in Fresno, California, as part of Operation COVID Chatdown. The suspects thought they were trapping 12 and 13-year-olds when they were actually communicating with undercover cops, posing as kids. Too often, however, predators get away with it.
The access to our kids is there through online gadgets. You think of a child predator who may have to deal with restrictions of being away from a school or away from a mall. Well, online, those don't apply. They're looking for kids. They're just, like cockroaches all over the online world looking for kids to target.
As the head of a leading crime prevention organization, Rania Mankarius says parents need to understand the extent of this sexual exploitation and warn their children to be on their guard.
I'll always say that a predator's greatest wish is that the family stays naive, that the parents are naive, that the kids are naive. It gives them an open segue into the house.
She says predators use phones, tablets, and computers to reach kids through social media sites. And we're not just talking about Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Kids are drawn to the latest popular apps like TikTok almost weekly. Parents can keep up through websites like Crime Stoppers and others.
They are really detailed in walking parents through dangers and trends and how to protect their phones. You can actually go through this whole questionnaire about what kind of computers you use, what type of firewall you have. Do you use, Chrome or Google, or what search engines you use, what apps, and it will literally create a customized platform for you or directions on how to protect your kids, and it will rate the apps and share what's wrong with them.
Parents also need to literally look at each app on their kids' phones and check them out on the App Store. Many don't know that Apple apps, for example, carry age ratings which identify sexual content and nudity. Children must never reveal their location and should double-check apps like Snapchat, which track automatically.
So we encourage kids to disable, whenever possible, GPS tracking devices from any of these apps, because beyond not overtly sharing information, you can be sharing that information without even knowing, just by having the phone in your pocket.
Most important, kids need to understand they should never meet in person someone they've gotten to know online. In fact, they should tell their parents and perhaps even the police if someone they met online is pressuring them to get together face to face. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 9:30.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
And finally, fans of his larger-than-life paintings know him simply as Mojo. His clients include Nike, the Salvation Army, NBC, and many more. But at the heart of his work is a personal passion to touch and inspire communities of forgotten people. Mojo is an artist and an activist who makes time to mentor many young creatives and says his life changed when he made a big move because of Jesus. He sat down with Studio 5's Ephraim Graham to share his story.
You go from St. Louis and Ferguson to move to Miami, which is where you are now.
Yes.
And I've heard you say, and I'd like this story, to get this story from you. You make this move and Jesus says something to you?
Well, this painting is of Jesus in a time where, like, what if he was here right now? When I moved to Miami, this is exactly what he said. He said, "You are here for a purpose. I put you here, and it is going to be hard, but you are going to get through it. Like, we will get through it together."
The first thing I did was, what felt right to me was to, like, get baptized pretty much. Everything was just hard during that time. Like, graduated from college. It was really hard to find jobs. I wanted to kind of turn my life over to him.
Be sure to check out Studio 5. You can catch it at 9:30 Eastern right here on the CBN News Channel. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. We hope you enjoyed the show. From all of us here, have a great day, and God bless you.